Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode zero point 0.2 of the Neowin Podcast. I'm Rich Woods.
And I'm Jean Carrasqueira. We had a bit of a slow news week this week.
It was a terrible week.
Uh,
It's
yeah.
the calm before the storm. That's what I call it. Because
Oh, yeah.
we did this on purpose, right? And we briefly talked about it last week. The first full episode is going to be we're going to record it on the Friday after build and IO. So there's a lot of stuff happening next week. We got some very cool stuff for the week after that as well. But next week's going to be build and IO. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, then next week is gonna be kind of insane. I mean, I don't since Microsoft and Google decided to align their conferences, it gets a little harder to keep up with. But that's gonna be exciting.
It's funny because they promised that wouldn't happen again this year. If you watch Windows Weekly, Chris Capicella, the chief marketing officer at Microsoft, he said that wasn't going to happen again, and then it did. You know what's funny is that on day 2 at Build, they actually have a viewing session for the Google I/O keynote.
What? Okay, that is interesting. That is one way to get people like, you can come to Build. You can just watch it from here anyway. So who cares?
Right. Something tells me that at I/O they don't have a session for the Build keynotes. But so anyway, we started seeing tweets over the last week that there isn't going to be Lite at Build. Lite is the Chrome OS competitor that we're expecting Microsoft to be working on, built on Windows Core OS, and a lot of us expected it to be announced at Build, and all of a sudden tweets that it's not going to be announced.
Yeah.
And when you see tweets from a bunch of journalists at the same time, that generally means that Microsoft PR got on the phone with these guys and said, "Hey, don't expect to see this at Build." Like the same thing happened with the Surface Pro 6. They actually called us on the phone and they said, "Hey, no Surface phone."
Oh, I didn't know they confirmed that, Mike.
Right. Yeah, it was weird. I think what they were trying to do back then was set expectations because a lot of people wanted to see Andromeda, which is the dual screen, the rumored dual screen device that Microsoft is working on. So no Lite at Build. What do you think we'll see?
Well, I was really expecting to see Lite and Windows Core OS in some form or another. So that leaves me kind of disoriented because now I'm not exactly sure what to expect.
Yeah. So I can say, well, I don't know if they specifically, because they didn't call me. I don't know if they specifically said no Windows Core OS. I know they said no Lite, and because I was told a couple months ago, and obviously things could have changed in just a couple months, but I because the HoloLens 2 runs on Windows Core OS, and the thing is, I was asking them, like, you have a product that exists with this now, and you still won't talk about it. And it was kind of implied to me that it will be a thing after Build. So that could have changed, or they could talk about that a little bit. Last year Build was all about Azure, right? I don't even think they had any sessions with Windows.
Yeah, I don't think they had anything about Windows. There was a lot of stuff about Azure, Dynamics. I think I remember watching one about Dynamics 365. They had a lot of stuff going on. Or was that at Ignite? I don't remember.
Yeah. I do think that there's a little bit of a shift this year. The other thing I was told is that they've heard the feedback about no Windows content last year, and they heard it loud and clear. So if you notice, yesterday a whole bunch of news dropped, and it was all Azure related. So I'm hoping that we see more. We'll just say Microsoft 365 news, because that's what they'll definitely end up calling it, which is Windows 10, Office 365, probably enterprise mobility and security.
Yeah, and I hope we do too, because I agree with the people that were upset last year. Windows is what the most of us get excited for around Build, I would say.
Yeah, and we talked about earnings last week. It's like more personal computing is still the top category.
Yeah, and it's still growing, so I hope there is more Windows stuff. I guess they'll probably go over the design again because they're always talking about new elements of Fluent Design. We've been
Oh,
hearing
fluid
about,
design.
yeah, stuff like that. I think they might talk about some new elements, maybe address the death of the square corners people have been talking about on Twitter lately.
Yeah,
People,
probably. There were some fluid design sessions listed in the schedule. I don't know if you looked at the schedule at all, but I've been going through it because I have to make my schedule for builds.
oh, actually, I haven't looked it up yet, but
Yeah, I hope to hear more about Edge, Chromium based Edge.
oh yeah,
It'll be yeah
well, most
yeah
likely got maybe a beta, finally the beta version. After since we're still waiting on that one, we only have
that would
that
be
in
great.
Canary. I would guess they're waiting for that. I think that makes sense, but I don't know.
I also don't know if they would be ready for beta yet, just because like while this thing is great, I think they want to put more features in there because there's a lot of stuff on the coming soon list, like dark mode, and I think they want to just have that stuff ready before beta.
That is a possibility. I just feel like Beyond would be a good time for something like that, but maybe not.
It
You
would,
know. Mm-mm.
yeah, definitely. But what about I/O? What do you think is going to happen at Google I/O?
Well, if it's anything like last year, obviously there's a new version of Android coming up. We're still only in the second beta. Hopefully they
Right.
open up the program again for more phones beyond Pixel, because I'm
Oh, they
I'm
still haven't done
hopeful.
that this year, right?
Yeah, it's only Pixel so far.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and last year they did that at I/O with OnePlus, the Nokia 7 Plus also coming along, a bunch of phones. And
Yeah, that
I
was
think they
with
said there's
Project
even more.
Treble.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that helps, yeah, make it more broadly available. And
Sure.
I hope that I think they said actually that there will be even more phones this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, they should be announcing new hardware, right? The Pixel 3a and 3a XL.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not usually a hardware event, but I mean,
No.
there's been a ton of leaks regarding the Pixel 3a, so it's got to be close by. I don't know
Well,
how
apparently Best Buy
close.
has them in stores now, or some Best
Exactly.
Buys. You
Exactly.
know.
I don't understand how that happens. Like, how is the store so so careless that they just
Best
the
Buy has a
product.
long history of doing this. You know
It's
what? I
it's
mean, like they just you know how do you guys have Best Buy in Portugal?
no, we don't.
Okay,
We,
so they have the displays set up with the different devices, and then under it usually there's a glass case that's locked, which is where they have the stock of actual devices. And I think they actually just had it in the glass case, and someone spotted it.
oh wow.
So it's not like it was out on display, but it is what it
Yeah,
is. Mistakes happen.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Is it even a secret anymore, though? Does Google
Yeah, I
really
mean,
care?
yeah, yeah, that is true. I mean, everyone knows about it already.
Yeah,
It's weird that Google hasn't announced it and just put it out there like that.
yeah. See, I don't. I'm last year Google I/O was during Microsoft Build, and it is again this year. So last year I just completely missed the whole thing. I tried to catch up on what I could when I got back, but once again this year I'm going to be so involved in what's going on in Build, I'm going to have no idea what's going on in I/O. And like I'm not going to be able to attend that session where we could view the keynote because there's just so much going on for me over there. So I really don't know what to expect. Other than I do expect those phones, probably some Android Q news, although they're not gonna say the name or anything.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, last year it was almost like around the time it came out that they announced the name, right? It was not very long before the official release when they announced that it was called Pi, I think.
Yeah, I think they did. Didn't they? Did they announce it when they released it or shortly before?
Yeah, it might have been at the same time. I am not
Yeah,
completely sure right now, but it was very close for sure, or at the same time, maybe.
yeah. I remember
So,
Oreo was definitely at the same time because they announced it during the solar eclipse that happened that year.
oh, really? I didn't, I wasn't
Yeah,
around for that. Oh, that's
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. Nice. Oh,
So
well,
bringing it back to, well, go ahead. Do you got more?
yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if Google is ever going to talk about that Fuchsia project thing, or they're bringing Android and Chrome OS together. We've been hearing about
Oh,
that for
Fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Yeah, we've been hearing about that for a while now,
That would be a
and
cool thing to talk about.
but I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it depends how far along they are with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if Stadia matters to them. I mean, they have Stadia
Uh,
now, and they haven't said much to developers, and since it's a developer conference, I don't know.
that's a very good point because they spent a lot of time showing off Stadia. And again, this is where I missed a lot of this because I was off at another event along with the Apple Arcade announcement. But the impression that I got from it was that to me it's about mobile gaming. Mobile gaming's like a 70 something billion-dollar a year business, and both of these companies, Apple and Google, want to be at the forefront of that. They want to take advantage of, because like this stuff is just going to keep getting more powerful and more mainstream.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Stadia is a little different. Like the Apple Arcade is for actual mobile games, and Stadia is about playing all those mainstream games, from the cloud. Obviously, it
Oh,
can be on your
I get
phone.
that, but you can play them on your phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
So
you can.
it's
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a different take
it's
on it, but it's still
exactly.
I think that's what they're looking at, because you look at Google, they're not a gaming company. They don't have the partnerships that Microsoft or Sony has, and gaming is not an easy business to break into. You know, Google and Apple's both their strengths are mobile gaming, and if Google can find a way to bring AAA games to phones, then I'm sure they want to be there, because like Google and Apple won mobile, Microsoft lost. I don't think they want anyone of them want to cede mobile gaming to Microsoft.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, unless mobile gaming, unless Project X Cloud is coming to the Xbox app for Android and stuff. I mean, it
Oh,
is a
I'm sure it
possibility.
is. I'm sure that's coming to phones.
Yeah.
But I think that Google wants to get out ahead of it. But we got off track. What I was trying to say is that they announced this thing, and they said very little. There's very little actually there. I think they announced one game or something, and very little about the platform itself. They just kind of talked. So that would be a cool thing for Google I/O. You're right.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. But again, just predictions. I'm not committing to anything. Don't blame me.
Oh no, I'm not committing to anything either, because so back bringing it back to build though, I mentioned that they dropped a bunch of Azure announcements yesterday. One of them was the HoloLens 2 Development Edition for $3,500. It includes $500 in Azure credits, 3-month trials to Unity Pro, and the Unity Pixies plugin. What do you think?
Well, for one thing, we knew this was coming because they announced it at the MWC, and they said first it was just the business thing, and they
Yeah.
said the development edition would be coming later. It's a different way from how they did it with the first HoloLens, because they just launched the developer edition right away, and then I don't know if there are any specific like versions for businesses and stuff, but it's good that they're getting it out, of course. And I'm sure you'll probably hear more about it at Build. And like you said, maybe something to do with the Windows Core OS, since it does power the experience here.
Yeah, well, they said it's not coming till later this year. It's funny that they said that Unity Pro is coming for developers on HoloLens later this month, and then they said that this actual unit is coming later this year. So, by the way, there's also plans to get it for $99 a month, and pre-orders open soon. But pricing is the same as the commercial version, $3,500. Um, they have a little checklist about what's different about each one. That the commercial edition comes with a commercial license, and that's about it.
Well, yeah, I guess it couldn't be that much different because, I mean, it is the same device after all. So,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, yeah, because but last time we had the developer edition for $3,000, and the commercial edition was $5,000. When they announced this thing, they sold it as being cheaper than the first one because the commercial edition was $1,500
uh,
more. Now it's more expensive than last year's developer
oh,
model.
oh, that is interesting. I actually thought that it was just $5,000. The first one, I thought it was $5,000 for everyone. I wasn't
No,
aware.
the development edition was 3,000.
Oh, okay. So that is weird. 'Cause
Yeah.
now, yeah. Why they make it? I don't know if they cut the price for commercial customers.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's easier. Same price across the board. $99 a month though. I kind of want one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad price when you put it like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's clearly a business device, so that's what's going to hold me off from actually buying one because I want to play games on it. You know?
that does sound very cool. I hope we get more gaming experiences to HoloLens in the future. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. I mean, we've had HoloLens, the first one, for like 3 years, and that still hasn't made that much progress for consumers. But I think
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, Unreal Engine 4 is support is coming. Oh, that was what was coming by the end of the month, not Unity Pro. Unreal Engine 4 support is coming by the end of the month, and Epic Games is on as a full partner. Tim Sweeney took the stage at
And then
Mobile
there
World
was,
Congress.
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll. I mean, I can see a consumer version in the future, and they didn't rule it out. It's a business that they were very focused when they announced this thing at Mobile World Congress. It was like the first generation. Remember, we kept seeing demos at different events, and they keep showing a different use case. Like there was that one, I think they called it Project X-Ray, which is where the robots come through the walls and you got to shoot them down. And
Oh, I love that demo. That was in 2015. It was the first January
yeah,
presentation when they first showed it off. I love that. That sold
that
me
was great.
on
Yeah.
AR. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to play that at the event where they announced the Lumion 950 and the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book, the original Surface Book. I actually got to play that game, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And there's a big segment of gaming for VR, but I think augmented reality and the HoloLens is so much cooler than actual virtual reality. Maybe that's just
Absolutely,
me.
I agree.
Maybe I'm weird, but I like the idea of augmented reality a little more than virtual reality. So
I agree, but it's also harder to do technologically just because virtual reality is just creating the whole world around you. Augmented reality actually has to place things on top of the real world, which is why you kind of get that smaller field of view, although it is bigger than the first generation. It's still not. You got to try it at Mobile World Congress, right?
yeah, I did. Yeah, the field of view, I actually felt like it was like horizontally, it was fine. I didn't really feel limited by
Yeah,
the field of view anymore. I don't know. I didn't play with the first one, so I don't know the difference. But I felt fine with the second one.
it's much bigger. I mean, the first one. You know what I found with the first one is that if you're moving around, you don't notice it as much. Like when I was playing that Project X-Ray game, I didn't notice it. I actually texted a few people. I'm like, hey, this actually seems pretty fine. Maybe it got better, and it didn't, because the next time I used that Galaxy Explorer app, and it was awful. And you
Oh.
remember Galaxy Explorer? It was kind of like a map of the solar system. You could walk through it and stuff.
I have a vague idea. I'm not sure. I remember more the medical ones that they had the medical one back then to show off. I don't remember like
Yeah.
Galaxy
Like I said,
Explorer that well.
every time they showed this thing off, it was a completely new use case. And now they actually have a vision. And by the way, I like what did you try out when you tried this thing? What did they have you do?
Well, so I tried the guides app that I think it's Dynamics 365 guides.
Oh, okay.
They had this sort of I actually don't know what it was. It looked like some sort of engine or like a big component of some sort of machine. I don't remember. And they just had like the phone guide was overlaid on top of of the real life machine. The machine was there, and then
Wow.
everything was laid out perfectly. So much so that I got a little confused what I was looking at because it was like almost perfect or even perfectly aligned. Well, I was surprised at how good it was. And
Did you see the hummingbird?
yeah, that is like the calibration process. Was very cute.
Well, that it was cool. Yeah, yeah. So obviously the people listening haven't tried this unit. The HoloLens 2 features eye tracking and hand tracking. So one of the things that they had us try out is that you would reach your hand out and a hummingbird would fly from across the room and land in your hand. And the eye tracking was cool too. They had, I think it was like five gems up against the wall, and you'd look at each one, and each one would turn as you look at it. And I made sure I walked all the way to the back of the room just to test how accurate this was, and it still worked from far enough away. Even the guys that were showing it to me were like, it's probably not going to work from all the way back there, and it did. And then I reached out my hand, and this holographic hummingbird flies across the room to land in my hand. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't really like the experience. I also tried this other one that is supposed to be a medical thing. Not really something I'm personally interested in, but it's cool. I think that one used eye tracking a little more too.
Yeah.
It is a very cool device.
They didn't show me these things that you're talking about, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, there were 4 demos. I got to try 2 because I forgot to get images of the first one, so I couldn't write a hands-on article. So I had to get a favor to try it again.
All right, add duplex.
So Windows 10 1809 is still under 30%, which is just shameful compared to the previous updates and how fast they've rolled out before.
Yeah, so Add Duplex has an SDK, and it runs on 5,000 Microsoft Store apps. So they release a monthly report showing Windows 10 usage based on those 5,000 apps. So it's not 100% accurate. But it gives us a ballpark picture of what's going on. And 1803 is still on 63.2% of devices.
Yeah, it's still clearly far ahead of the October update. And I think at this point, Microsoft just they gave up on version 1809. I think they're just like, what, we'll update everyone to the May update when it comes out, and that's it. I don't think they're trying to get this out to anyone, because usually you see these updates get to 70% in what, 2-3 months or something. They're very quick, right?
So, yeah. Well, you can see in the second graph where it shows how fast each previous edition rolled out, and each other one was so much faster. Obviously 1809 stalled because they released it on October 2nd at that Surface event that I mentioned before, and they skipped the release preview ring entirely. So people started finding that their files were being deleted upon upgrading, and very few. It was very rare, but obviously that's a problem that you can't have. So they ended up pulling the update 4 days later. And it wasn't until like mid-November that they were actually able to re-release it.
Yeah, that was just, I think we talked about how good it is that they're now giving people more choice and ways to control the updates. And yeah, they clearly did not do that for the October update. It was the biggest mistake they've made.
They pushed it fast. And they did a similar thing with I found 1803 personally to be more problematic than 1809. I speaking kind of anecdotally, I'd say that 1803 had more problems, but 1809 had more serious problems, like deleting files. But I remember when 1803 came out, and I upgraded something like 15 PCs, and at least half of them were nearly unusable because of one problem or another.
Yeah, I remember you were saying something about that and how many problems you had with 1803. But yeah, I think the thing is 1809 had more serious problems. I mean, people losing files is a pretty serious matter, so you can't have something like that.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna have a lot of people go directly from 1803 to 1903.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the case. I don't think Microsoft, even with the mid-November release, they just haven't tried to pick up the pace as they did with previous versions of Windows, I think. So I think they're just really holding it out for 1903, and now they're being more careful. So maybe they can push it a little harder when it does come out to everyone.
Well, they even said that they're not going to push it harder, right? You're going to have a choice whether to install this thing or not, or wait a little longer. And it's fun. They're not doing that seekers crap that I always hated. I always spoke of like this idea that anybody that checks for updates is seeking the next update. And like they were thinking of these people the same way that they thought of release preview insiders, people that actually opted into beta testing. And they would ship this thing like a week before Patch Tuesday. So when Patch Tuesday actually came around, I would actually have to write an article like, when you want your cumulative update, don't go to Windows Update, or else you're going to get this feature update that might potentially brick your computer. Not brick it, but you're going to have to
Yeah.
do some work to get it working again. And it wasn't right. So I'm really glad to see them moving away from that.
Yeah, the secret concept was just garbage. I don't know why they ever
Yeah.
did that. They refer to those users as advanced users. Like all you have to do is click the check
Yes.
for updates button. I don't know how advanced that can possibly be considered.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad they're changing that. But I do think in a way I kind of agree with the idea of like pushing those updates a little harder to people. But first you have to ensure that they're stable. And I think they should use this period in the release preview to make sure everything is okay. But then when it does come out, almost everyone should be able to get it right away easily.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for the most amount of people possible to be on the latest version. But you also have to ensure that it's a stable enough version for most people to be on.
Yeah. And that's the thing that like they skipped release preview last time, and release preview is the only ring. It's made for builds that are going to go to production, right? So it's the only ring where people are going from 1803 straight to 1809. Every insider on release preview was doing that upgrade, and had they done that testing, they might have noticed that people's files were going missing when they were going from 1803 to 1809.
Yeah, exactly. And you would have thought that they learned something from the April update because they had this build for the April update. I think it was 17.133, and then
Oh
they released
yes,
that to release preview, and they had problems with it, and they had to fix it in release preview to 17.134. So
that's
you'd have
right.
thought you'd think they'd realize that we might have problems when it goes to release preview, so let's do that first. But they didn't. They just made it worse. They just ignored everything that happened with the April update and decided to push it to everyone.
That's a great point because they had their proof right there as to why release preview needs to exist, and they ignored it.
Yeah. I don't get why that happened. But at least they're
Yeah.
learning finally.
Yeah. All right. We got a new build this week, 18890. It's in the fast ring from the 20H1 branch, and there's no new features. The
Yeah,
only thing the only thing that's actually notable about this is that they're killing off friendly dates in File Explorer, which was a feature they were testing. It's kind of weird because it's the release notes for a 20H1 build, but they put it in there to say that under fixes and improvements in build 18890, they said they decided not to roll out friendly dates in 19H1. Weird place to put it, but if you like that feature, you're not getting it.
yeah, that is a strange way to
Yeah,
list it, but okay.
it's kind of
Well,
buried.
yeah, what was friendly dates? I have skip ahead for a while, and I'm not sure what it is because I'm mostly using my stable machine.
It was just a different dates format in File Explorer. You could turn it off if you didn't like it, and I guess people just didn't like it because they didn't use it. And I think that's fine. You know, we talked about sets last week, and just this idea of testing stuff and being able to say like, you know what, this didn't work, we're not doing it.
Yeah, that is what the insider program is for. So I'm glad they're
Absolutely.
listening to people.
Yeah, yeah. So, bunch of fixes, even more known issues. Like, you know, I point this out in every article about a new build that I write. It's that 20H1 is 2 updates ahead. We're not, we're not
Yeah,
going to see it for another year. So we're not going to see many new features for now.
yeah. Last week was already a pretty small update. This week is even smaller, so
Yeah, yeah.
it's to be
So,
expected. I do wonder when they're gonna start rolling out 19H2 though, because that's not that far off by
you
comparison,
know,
at least.
I expect them to start rolling out 19H2 builds after 19H1 is generally available. like after it graduates from release preview. I'm more curious about how they're gonna do 19H2. Like, is this just a slow ring thing, or are they gonna like the option is to it's reserved for the slow ring, or they create a new ring for 19H2.
Yeah, the it is weird because they're gonna be cutting out, I think I would say the majority of their testers, because I can't imagine them having more users in the slow ring than in the fast ring. I think most people will either be in the fast ring or maybe release preview because they just want those final updates a little sooner. I don't know
I've
how
heard
many people
conflicting
that
reports.
yeah, I'm just speculating because I'm actually not
Yeah.
sure how that is split, but they're gonna heavily reduce the number of people testing it 19H2 if they just use the slow ring. And I think that's kind of weird to
Well,
do.
I have a feeling that I was told a while ago that the most popular ring kind of switches back and forth between the fast ring and the slow ring. And then recently I heard that the most popular ring switches between fast and release preview. And the thing is, the slow ring has been kind of a waste of time for a few feature updates now. Like for instance, like it's supposed to be fast ring weekly, slow ring monthly, and with 19H1, they really only did slow ring for like the last month of testing, and this thing was just useless for the bulk of all the fast ring testing that they did. So if you're on the slow ring and you want to test 19H1, you kind of had to go to the fast ring, and I don't think there was any point in being on the slow ring for a while now.
Yeah, they haven't released that. I mean, it took months to release the first build
Yeah.
for these past few updates. So it has been useless, and that's why I think that they're gonna lose a lot of testers if they stay in the slow ring. But at the same time, I guess a lot of people can switch back to the slow ring now if they're just gonna focus
Yeah. And
that.
that's the thing. I think if you want to test 19H2, you're going to switch to the slow ring for it. If it's in the slow ring.
Or yeah, like you said, maybe they can just create a new ring and have two rings in 20H. Well, now it's just one ring in 20H1, and then two rings in 19H2. Who knows?
Yeah. And then the other update we got this week was for users on 1809. That's 17.763.439. And it's still not in Windows Update, right? I'm going to
No, I
check
don't.
right now, but
I don't think so.
no, it's not. I mean, it's that they do this every month. They obviously they have Patch Tuesday updates on the second Tuesday of the month, and then they have optional updates later in the month. And if you look at the change logs, these have longer lists of fixes than the Patch Tuesday updates. But if you don't take the optional updates, obviously these fixes will be in the Patch Tuesday update. And for some reason, when they do the optional updates, they do everything except 1809, and then later on they do 1809. So this is the 1809 one, and you can download it manually if you want it.
Yeah, it's available. At least now it's available on the update catalog. Because when they released it, when they announced it, it wasn't available there either. It's just you couldn't download it at all. So at least now
Well,
you
if you really
can.
want it, I don't
Yeah.
I don't know who really wants it. Probably businesses that want to test it.
Yeah, it's mostly improvements around calendars for the Japanese era because they just started a new era in Japan. Whatever that
Yeah,
means, I have no
I
idea.
don't either. I don't know. I don't know. Let's talk
But
about
yeah,
Edge.
okay, bunch of updates this week.
Yeah, cool
Um,
stuff. Go ahead.
so let's start with the PWAs now being at the top level of the start menu,
Mhm.
which I think is cool. I mean, clearly PWAs are one of Microsoft's biggest bets, and it wouldn't make sense for them to go inside the folder, anyways. So
Yeah.
I think this is good. It's not a major change, but it does make things more accessible. So I
Yeah.
think that's good. I
I
wonder
don't
if
use PWAs.
yeah.
I don't use apps. I like the tabbed browser experience.
For me, it depends a lot. I actually use more apps than I think I do websites.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I feel weird about PWAs now because um, the Twitter PWA used to be based on the mobile Twitter website. It was basically the same thing. That's why it was a PWA. But now if you open the PWA that's on the Windows Store, it has this new design with 3 columns. You have your home notifications and stuff, the menu on one side, and in the center you have the feed, and then you have the trends on the other side. But if you go to the mobile website, all those categories, the menu is at the top, like the mobile website. So now it's a different experience.
Have you tried installing Twitter from the browser to see it just looks completely different from the PWA from the store?
Yeah, it does. It just has that mobile-like look, which is weird because now you have this option to install from the browser, but it's not the same experience that's on the store. And I don't think it's leveraging quite the same things as the other one. I don't know because it's weird now because as PWAs are supposed to unify everything and all that, and now we have this segregation already.
Yeah. I mean I think that's going to happen to some extent. I don't know about to that extent, but there are more limitations when putting an app through the store versus downloading a web app through the browser. Just arbitrary limitations that app store providers place on users, and you have to code certain things yourself.
Yeah, then that could be it. I do hope we get a more unified look because I think now the desktop Twitter website is getting a redesign, and that one looks like the Twitter PWA that's on the store. So I don't know why they have these two slightly different websites. They're supposed to be the same thing. I would think that the same URL would just adapt to both UIs, and you would need to have these different experiences. But I don't know.
All right, we got translation in Edge Canary. Jay wrote this article and said it was for Canary, and I use Dev regularly, and I had it for a couple days already. So I mean this translation is out there. It works, which is good.
It does work. I did not have it before though. I think it must be new this week because it is new. Yeah. But what I found weird so far is that it pops up every time you open a page that's not in your language, which in my case it's in English because I don't think Edge supports Portuguese yet, the Chromium version at least. So whenever I open a website, it prompts me to translate from Portuguese to English, but you can't save the preference to not be asked again. It asks you every time.
Oh, yeah.
There's no option to say, don't ask me again. At least as far as I can tell, there's nothing like that. So it just asks me every time I open the page that's in Portuguese. It asks me if I want to translate it. So I hope they get around to that because that's kind of annoying.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think of that because it does work if you want it to translate every time. You could say, you could check that box, always translate, from Italian or something. But it must be an issue for dual language people.
Yeah, it's just annoying to have it pop up every time.
Yeah. And then we had our weekly Edge dev update, 75.0.139.4. No new features.
Just fixes. Yeah. It's basically the same version. They didn't really. It's not. This version was never available to Canary users because we just skipped numbers more quickly. This one just changed like the last build number at the end. So
it's serviced.
Yeah, it just fixes. That's basically it. So it's not a big release. I guess not all of them will be big releases. So
yeah, maybe they'll announce Mac OS supported build.
Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah,
that would. No, what would really be nice is ARM64. I was telling one of the guys on the team. I said, if you guys had an ARM64 build out, I would just bring a Windows on ARM PC to build. That would be it. It would be fine. But they still don't have it.
Yeah, I hope it's soon. And maybe they'll talk about it a little more about ARM64 at build now that you mentioned that. Hopefully there's some news I know about that.
See, that's the thing about a beta though. There's a lot of stuff that's still, it's only Windows 10 32 64-bit. So, well, I should say x64 because ARM64 is coming soon. Official support for Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 is coming soon. Mac OS coming soon. So
yeah, a lot of
I
things
would
are
think
still
that they
coming
got to
soon.
have this stuff out before they do a beta.
Yeah, that would make sense. They want to have this. If it's gonna be more broadly available, it should be more broadly available for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, although I've been using this exclusively, especially since translation came out, because I'd go to a site that's in Italian or something, and I just open it in Chrome because translation actually worked. And now that it works, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it
You
is
had any
nice to have.
problems?
Huh?
You had any problems with it?
Oh, I rarely use the translation feature.
No, I mean
Because
Edge in general, the Chromium
oh,
Edge.
I still have that issue I talked about last week with the sync not working. It still
Oh,
hasn't been fixed, neither in Canary or Dev. So I don't know what's up with that. I reported it again when they announced last week's build, the last week's Dev build. I reported it to them.
have you tried signing out and signing back in? Because they
Yeah.
they also announced this week that Sync now works with all Androids Edge because previously I think it was only an Edge preview for Android, and they announced that it's available for everyone. So I would think that they think Sync is working.
Yeah, maybe they do think that. Maybe I'm
They probably do think that. Doesn't mean it's true.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it isn't. It is, I have tried signing out, like you asked. Yeah, I've tried deleting all my local data. I had to re-add all my favorites, but it doesn't. It just doesn't work in either one.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's up with that. They did ask me for more details this week. I told them I found feedback using the feedback option this time instead of just using the forums.
Yeah.
And let's hope they get around to it soon.
I usually just use Twitter and I just yell at everyone.
I mean, if it works, if
Yeah. The guys on the team now, they're cool guys. And
yeah,
like Will Devereaux, he's like my favorite because he came from OneNote, and OneNote is such a good product. A couple of years ago, I was so happy with OneNote, and I was like, wow, there are no other Microsoft apps that I'm this happy with. I make fun of I make fun of movies and TV because they're not cross-platform, so no one in their right mind should purchase a movie from Microsoft. And I make fun of Groove and all this stuff. I'm like, but OneNote is actually great. It's a UWP app. It's one of the best UWP apps out there. And then this guy goes to Edge, and I'm like, there's no way you could do as good. And then here we are with Chromium. You know,
yeah, we've come a
I
long way with
never
Edge.
thought what?
Edge is making some progress now.
Yeah. I never thought that they would be able to get me to use Edge. I never thought.
Yeah, it is. It is great. It's really great. And now I can use
Yeah.
YouTube with it if I need to, which I couldn't really do with
Yes.
the other Edge. My computer just kicking up the fans like crazy because everything is slow.
Until
But
it's called an unsupported browser.
yeah, Google keeps doing that. Google Docs doesn't
Yeah.
support it now. Google Maps doesn't support it now.
No, it was Google
Google
Earth.
Earth. Yeah, that.
Yeah. No, so last week we talked about Google Meet and now Google Docs it I tried this. It works. It just displays a message at the top of the screen that says the browser is unsupported. And then Google Earth just doesn't work and it says to download Chrome. So
Yeah,
we'll see. You know,
that's.
we'll
I'm
just
not.
see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not very happy about that, but I'm
Yeah.
trying not to be mean to Google.
I don't use Google Docs or Google Earth, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. But
Um,
it's just like the
we'll
the
see.
idea.
There's certain things that we all need, like YouTube, and I use Gmail. But other than that, it's not a whole lot of Google services I use.
Yeah, I actually only use YouTube, and on my computer, I actually use the MyTube app from the Windows Store because I actually really like that. I've talked
Yeah,
about it before on the website.
yeah.
It's very cool. I try to avoid the website itself, even though it works fine now. Now it works better, but in old Edge, it was just terrible.
Right.
Um,
You want to tell us about Xbox?
I mean, I don't have an Xbox, but so
All right,
so
I'll do
there's
Xbox. You can do the Facebook stuff. All right.
yes, let's do that.
So we got some new games that are on Xbox Game Pass coming this month. We have Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, War Groove, Surviving Mars. Those are coming on May 9th. That's Tacoma, Black Desert. May 10th is For the King. May 16th, The Surge, and Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham.
Well,
So
that's a ton of games.
it is. Xbox Game Pass is great. And, you're really missing out by using a Nintendo Switch.
I'm
Well,
I'm still I'm still holding out for that Xbox Game Pass app. If they do release it, I'll get on with that. I'll probably get it if they did make it happen.
You know what like we talked about this because I finally got a Nintendo Switch in February, and I was just shocked at the lack of services like this. That Nintendo, it seems like that they're selling games in a way that we used to do this, I don't know, 10 years ago. Like you can buy digital games, but there's no subscription service, no deals. There's just Nintendo Online that's $20 a year and you get a few benefits, but that's it.
Yeah, you're supposed to get exclusive deals with it when they first announced it, but nothing's really happened so far.
No.
But
I was surprised, and then I'd see games that are like 2 or 3 years old still selling for $60.
Yeah, there are a bunch like that. But they have. I've had experience with Nintendo for some time, and I think the Switch has had a lot more sales than previous platforms. Like, they don't have services, of course, but they do have on the eShop. There's been a ton of sales. Actually, last week I bought Doom, this 2016 Doom, for $30, so that was nice. So
I'm kind of spoiled by Xbox Game Pass, though. It's just, it's well over 100 games now, and it's just it's nice because I'm really used to not having to spend $60 on a game just to play it and then find out I don't like it.
Yeah, that is a big advantage because you're always running a risk of not liking a game. You never know.
Yeah.
So
and Game Pass makes it all easy. Then there's a lot of good games on here.
Yeah, I would be interested in Wolfenstein 2 because it's also made by Bethesda, who made Doom, and that's also on the Switch. I'm hoping for a bigger sale on that one. But
yeah.
I guess if I had Game Pass, I wouldn't have to wait. But
that's right.
Now I have.
So Microsoft also announced the games with gold for May, and we got from May 1st through 31st, we have Marooners for Xbox One. May 16th to June 15th, the Golf Club 2 featuring PGA Tour. That's for Xbox One. Xbox 360, May 1st through 15th, Earth Defense Force, Insect Armageddon. And then May 16th through 31st, Comic Jumper. So, by the way, Xbox Live Gold is another. Games with Gold is great. You get 4 free games a month. Can't complain. And a lot, I am not familiar with these games, but a lot of times they're really good games.
Yeah, I actually don't know any of these. I've heard of Earth Defense Force, but I've never played it, so I have no idea.
Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, I'll claim it probably today because now we can.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it is today.
So and it's free. It doesn't hurt to claim these things. And it's an Xbox 3. It's good.
I was just gonna say, you can keep them forever, so that's nice. It's not like Game Pass, where you only have them, while the subscription lasts. These ones are yours forever, so that's kind of cool.
Well, the Xbox One games you lose if you cancel the subscription.
The Xbox One.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 games you keep forever. But I believe that if you reactivate your Xbox Live Gold subscription at any point, you get all those Xbox One games back.
Oh, well, so that's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice deal because on other subscription services you get those bonuses only a while. On Nintendo, for example, if you don't have the Switch Online anymore, the NES games go away. You can play Tetris 99. So
right.
So yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Those games, they just stop working if you discontinue Nintendo Online. I mean, but the games stay on your Switch. They just don't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, Nintendo Online is an online multiplayer game though, where like you need Xbox Live Gold to play online multiplayer anyway. It's the same thing in that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's like anything you get along with that is good because you're gonna pay for it anyway. So any bonuses that they throw in, I think, are nice.
Yeah.
That's why I don't complain a lot about Nintendo Switch Online because I'm gonna pay for it one way or another because I want to play online. So if I get
Yeah.
if I get NES games, why not?
Yeah, and those NES games are great. Tell us about Facebook.
All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about these ones because I was surprisingly excited about it, even though
Really?
last week I said I don't
Now
use
I'm excited.
Facebook. Last week I said I don't use Facebook, and I don't use it for my own things, but I always go there to check on what other people are doing.
Yeah.
So any changes that they can make to make it better, because I do hate the website itself. I don't know, it feels slow. It's always felt kind of slow to me. The design feels kind of outdated too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm really
It's very bloated.
interested. Yeah, I'm really happy with the changes they made. Apparently, it's the sort of PWA now. It's gonna be sort of PWA when they update it. It's built on React, which is this technology Facebook has been working on for some time. It's supposed to be very, uh, fast and animated and stuff for its a web technology. So I do like the new look a lot. It's supposed to be on the app as well, but I think it's first for the United States or just a limited number of users. I don't have it yet, but I do think it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I've seen the new mobile app. Everybody hates it. Facebook had its F8 developer conference this week, and that's where they announced all this stuff. And I could care less.
that's understandable. It's not like I'm
Yeah,
gonna use this a lot, but I
yeah.
think
I
it's
mean,
cool.
I use Facebook. It's there, but it's like a redesign is not something that I don't care much about. I do find this dating stuff, Facebook dating, to be interesting, um, and a little
Uh,
what's the word I'm looking for? So is it you can pick like 9 friends or something that you have a secret crush on, and if they pick you too, you get matched.
yeah, it's something like that. It basically goes, I think, to the friends of your friends or something, and you can.
Creepy. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. It is a little bit creepy. Yeah.
Facebook's got a real problem in that anything that they do that's new is going to come across as creepy. Like
Yeah.
that the Facebook portal, that thing, putting a Facebook camera in your home is creepy because it's Facebook.
Yeah, basically, yeah. They just have that reputation that just
Yeah.
ruins everything for them now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
What
I'm
else? New
excited.
messenger client too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was also excited about that because Messenger is the only component of Facebook that I still kind of care about because I have people on there that I need to talk to and they don't use anything else.
Right.
And yeah, the Messenger app for Windows right now is just garbage. It's this ported app they made using those tools they had. What is it, OS Meta or something a while back? The,
Yeah.
so they brought that
Yeah.
over, I think, from iOS, and it's
Right.
got that
Right.
iOS style design, and it doesn't fit in at all. So I'm looking forward to an actual Windows app coming over. That seems cool to me. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also glad they're making it faster and smaller on mobile because that is Facebook apps are huge. That's the main reason
They
I don't
are.
install them on my phone. I only have the Lite versions because they're so big and the installer is big enough, but they didn't create all this data for you. Like I installed Instagram this week and it's like a 35 megabyte download. But if you go to the
Yeah.
Play Store, it now tells me that the app is using 400 megabytes.
Right. I
So,
that's what happens when you have these apps and they keep updating with new features over and over. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
so yeah, I'm glad they're making it smaller. I do hope they keep that philosophy for the Windows 10 app because I also want that to be as light as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I don't use the Windows 10 app. I use a tab in the browser, like everything else.
Yeah, I don't use
So
the
what
app
about
anymore either, just because
yeah.
it's trash.
Yeah, well, there's just, I mean, there's too many apps that I could use, Twitter, Messenger, Facebook, where it just helps to keep them all tabbed in the browser, and I can see if notifications come in on any one. Makes life a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, we
Um,
all use our phones or computers differently, so that yeah.
so we have a leak of the Moto Z4 from Evan Blass, and Evan Blass is almost always reliable, but this kind of surprised me. It shows a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. It what's apparently a metal back and a single lens camera, which is all a big departure for Motorola.
Yeah, that is very. I was just looking at the renders now because I hadn't
Yeah,
looked closely. It's just one rear camera in 2019.
yeah,
That is,
no, it's
and they
funny
still
because
have
they
that
even had
zoom.
a yeah
And
they even had a dual camera in the Z3 Play last year. So apparently, according to rumored specs, that's a 48 megapixel sensor. Apparently, they're going for a Snapdragon 670 this year. So maybe it's just meant to be an upper mid range. They're not going for flagship anymore.
yeah, unless they maybe they have a Z4 Force that's more flagships. Like I don't know,
Could
but it
be.
is.
I mean, it's confusing. Like they did a Z2 Force, and then they didn't do a Z3 Force. They did a regular Z3. They didn't do a regular Z2. It's
Yeah,
they can do whatever they want. To be honest.
yeah, it's very strange. So it's hard to know what to expect from this. I do notice that they still have support for Moto Mods, and I think they only
Yeah,
promised that for the first three generations, wasn't it? When they first announced
they
the.
did. They
So
did.
it's good that they're
I,
keeping it around. I
I
mean,
guess. I mean, I don't know. I've actually seen a couple people that use these things in the real world. I've never seen anyone using Moto mods in the real world, and I don't know that you would. I have like 5 mods from the various Moto Z's that I've reviewed, and like they're cool and everything, but it's like I'm not going to carry them around in my pocket, and they stay in a drawer.
yeah, I can understand that. It's a whole other thing you have to carry. It's kind of
Yeah.
cumbersome,
Yeah,
but
we have
it's
this
an
dream of modular phones, and I don't think it makes sense to consumers.
Yeah, I don't think the majority of people would care. I think that desire for modular phones is coming from a very niche but loud group of enthusiasts,
Yes.
and so it's the kind of thing that would never really work for a company, but somehow people still want it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. What I don't understand is why they have such a big camera bump for just one lens. That is weird.
Well, remember that round module there has to fit inside of the Moto mod that you're putting on the back. So they really can't change anything about the physical design of the back of the phone.
Yeah, I mean, they could just take out the bump and make it have a bigger hole around the camera, but I don't know if
I
that would work
guess.
well.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
I'm just surprised to see a single camera lens, even if it is 48 megapixels.
yeah, yeah, it's so strange. In 2019, there's no other phone in that range, I think, that only has one camera. Even the cheaper phones are starting to have two cameras. Like you have,
But what range is it even in? Like last year with the Z3, they decided not to use a Snapdragon 845. They used a Snapdragon 835. And by the way, that had a glass back. Those seems to have a metal back. And they decided on an 835 because they wanted to price it at $399. And they promoted it as the first phone that's upgradable to 5G. So there's the 5G Moto mod. And I think that's why they wanted to lower the price of the device. So once you get the Moto mod on top of it, it's still a relatively inexpensive 5G device. And how many people were that useful for? Verizon 5G's in 2 cities right now. It's coming to like 19 more or something this year. But other
yeah, I
than
think
that, it's just a phone with 2-year-old hardware.
yeah, and 5G, any bet on 5G right now is very early for the majority of people.
Yeah.
And doing this, I think Motorola is really just kind of jeopardizing the possible success of their hardware. because aside from, like you said, aside from the 5G support, it's not really an interesting phone for the specs. So it's
yeah.
yeah.
Especially if they go for a Snapdragon 600 series this time around, it's even less impressive.
Yeah. Are they just gonna drop flagships entirely, or do they have some
I
other
guess
idea?
so.
That's that's
Unless this is actually a Z4 Play or some even lower end model, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. It's a very strange decision. If this is the only one we're getting, and they're not
Yeah,
gonna have anything with any sort of flagship processor, then I don't know.
disappointing.
Yeah. I also don't like the design of that notch for some reason. That U-shaped notch. I don't
Why?
know. I can't explain it. It's small, but it's so obvious. I don't know.
It
I
is
like.
kind of. Now I can't unsee it. Jeez. You know?
I feel like something like the 1.6T is a little more subtle because it's more curved.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it,
I see what you're saying. Now I can't unsee it.
sorry, everyone.
It's okay. All right, so that's all we got for today. And anything else? Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that is it. We covered a lot of stuff.
Any cool thing? All right, cool. So,
Well,
once again, if anybody's listening and you have feedback, please leave it in the comments. And I was happy with the comments last week. There wasn't anybody that said we should change up the format in any way or whatever.
yeah, that was good. I think we
Yeah.
got in a way got mostly positive feedback. A lot of people were commenting on older versions of the
Yeah.
podcast.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
The older stuff. Yeah. So
but
yeah, if
yeah,
anybody's got any feedback, just let us know. And anyway, we're around. I'm at the Rich Woods on Twitter.
and
Who are you on Twitter?
I'm at Indospot. I'm gonna spell it out for you. It's INDOSPOT.
Cool.
And yeah, follow me if you want to see a lot of uninteresting things. Uh,
That's why I follow everybody. Cool.
so
So
yeah.
we'll see you guys next week for the first. It's episode 1. We're gonna cover build and IO and anything else that might happen.
All
So
right, guys.
we'll catch you then.
All right, see you guys.